Hey y'all, TRG here, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the potential for multiple tropical systems to form in the main development region, and even a couple possibly moving into the Gulf of Mexico. So let's go right ahead and dive on into today's video. So there's a couple of different things to note here on your current water vapor imagery. We'll go ahead and start from right to left. So we have a tropical wave that is currently moving off the coastline of Africa into a decently favorable environment thanks to that dry air in this area that is beginning to move off to the west now and move into portions of the Caribbean. So this has a chance, whilst not high at the moment, it may have a chance to develop into a tropical system as this moves just east of the Lesser Antilles. Another thing to note is we have a tropical wave out here, broad tropical wave in Central America that is generally moving very slowly to the west, northwest. That may go up into the Gulf and may also split off into the Eastern Pacific. And then our last area of interest here is going to be in the northeastern side of the Gulf of Mexico. A couple instances of some isolated rain showers, maybe some heavy rainfall as it moves into Texas, but it should not become a designated tropical system, as the environment is just not favorable for a tropical storm to fire out in that portion of the Gulf. But we could still see some minor rainfall issues out there on the coastline of Texas. One of the models that I personally think is handling this upcoming pattern pretty well is the Icon model. So again, we have our tropical wave out here in the bottom right hand corner of your screen, and then our other tropical wave out here in the kind of bottom left, and then another tropical wave in the left middle side of your screen there in the Gulf of Mexico. You'll see that one in the left middle there. See those little red dots? That's your central low pressure. Not really much of intensification going to happen there. And then it's going to bring some light to moderate rainfall into the coastline of Texas and Louisiana, maybe some very isolated flash flooding there. Now we're going to just bring this back so we can pay attention to our tropical waves one at a time. Here's your other tropical wave just off your screen. I'm just tracking it with my cursor here and moving up towards the Yucatan Peninsula, into the Yucatan Peninsula, and look what it tries to do here on the coastline of Texas and Louisiana. By the time we go into August 28th and August 29th, it actually attempts to form into a tropical storm, and this particular 12Z Icon model actually gets it to succeed into a tropical storm and even a borderline hurricane. So the Icon model does actually have a pretty interesting system there. Just 160 hours out, we could have a tropical storm in the Gulf of Mexico, but that is going to be really a 50-50. It's going to be a toss-up system, so we're going to just continue to monitor that closely. Now we'll pay attention to our main development region. I'll go down a bit so you guys can see it a bit better. Here's our tropical wave moving off of Africa now. Then we go on into the future here, August 27th. Continues off to the west as just a really very broad tropical wave, not that organized by any means. And then it attempts its hardest to try and form a low pressure by the 29th. And it starts forming that low pressure. You can see it bouncing around right near my cursor, and it succeeds on this particular model run on August 31st, rather, and might even become a tropical storm as early as September 1st. So I do believe this model run's handling it well, with just some on the first system out here in the Northeast Gulf, moving it into Texas with maybe some minor flooding potential. Then that other system in the Central America area moves up into Texas. That's going to be a toss-up. And then, of course, our main development region system. I think this system has the best shot at forming. The one in the Gulf is going to be a 50-50, and then the one in the northeastern Gulf, I don't think that's going to form. So I'd be watching the main development region closely as this moves up to the north-northwest. And pending on our steering pattern, which currently on this Icon model, we have a double high pressure out here, which would probably steer it up generally right where I've drawn that arrow, up and around like this, and probably out to sea. We may or may not have U.S. impacts out here in the southeastern side of the United States, so we'll just keep a very close eye on these systems. There's going to be a whole lot more as well as we go into early and especially mid-September. Before we dive on into the rest of today's video, I ask that you guys please go ahead and hit that like button and share this video with your family, friends, and on social media to help spread weather awareness. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing with the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload a video. Let's go ahead and continue with today's video. A couple areas of interest on the GFS model run here. It actually doubles the system. So it has this as two different tropical waves out here. We have another system here, the one we're watching right now off the main development region off of Africa. And then it has a fourth one that is actually, will go progressing in the model run, currently over like Central Africa, and that moves into the main development region. And we'll go ahead and progress this forward. So as we go into the 27th, it takes two tropical waves into the Gulf of Mexico. You get one here, and then you get a secondary one here. Then, of course, you have that one in the main development region, and then another one moving off the coastline into the main development region as well. One of these just hits Texas. Not really much of an issue there whatsoever. That also, that one in the northeastern Gulf, you can see, moves into Texas as well. So the one that the Icon model tries to spin up, the GFS doesn't agree with that. You can see it. Look, there is a 1010 millibar low pressure there, but that's definitely no tropical storm. And if we pull this forward, look at that. There's another random tropical system. This on the GFS here goes along the eastern side of the United States, actually makes landfall in Florida right here, and then just really gets out of there and attempts to form into a tropical storm as it moves off the Carolinas. And then simultaneously, as that happens, we get another low pressure trying to form into a tropical storm. The GFS has a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico as we go towards September 3rd, September 4th. And then that one in the main development region attempts to fire up, and at the end of the GFS, it becomes a tropical storm. So a lot of other systems to keep an eye on as well. A lot of these are going to be toss-up systems. Whenever I say that, it really just means 50-50. Just going to have to keep an eye on it. Again, the one I'm most concerned about at the moment is going to be the first one in the main development region. So this is the first one, which the GFS, it has it, having a centralized low pressure, but then it dies out. And the secondary one on the GFS model run actually becomes the concerning one, according to this model. And then we get a random fantasy hurricane in the Gulf. Again, toss-up system there. And then even if that did happen, even if we did see that tropical wave, which is currently located just to the southeast of the Leeward Islands, even if we did see that move up and into Florida, it wouldn't bring that many impacts because it doesn't have a whole lot of time and it's not in the best environment. It would kind of be a Debbie situation, but a whole lot less energy. So it wouldn't have nearly as much time to strengthen, and it wouldn't have nearly as much of a favorable environment to strengthen as Debbie did earlier this year, or I should say earlier this month. But yeah, that's going to be it for your GFS model run. Don't pay close attention to that tropical storm hurricane out there in the Southwest Gulf. The GFS does that very often, but I would watch both of those systems in the main development region closely, and just kind of keep the tropical system out here in the central portion of America. Just keep that in mind. I don't think it's going to do much, but we want to keep an eye on it just in case. So the main development region is the main region I would be watching on pretty much every model run. Now on to your European model run from the last night's model run at 00Z. This one's going to be a lot more on the less aggressive side of things, so I wouldn't be shocked if we see absolutely nothing here. But there's that tropical wave in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico. Quite a lot of confidence between all these models that this hits Texas with some very, very minor flooding potential. Not really going to be much of an issue there. Makes landfall on the morning of the 26th. Again, just a very minor flash flooding issue. There's your main development region system right there. See if the European does absolutely anything with it. And it doesn't. It really just keeps everything as a very low end, just tropical wave activity. So the one in Central America, it looks like it kind of just stays there. It really doesn't get moving at all. And it's just not much of an interest on the European model. The one in the main development region is just a blob of a tropical wave, not organized whatsoever. So very underwhelming on the European model, which is actually, believe it or not, really, really common. I am not shocked with that whatsoever. So here's something unique. This is going to be the European AI model, which is not something I use often by any means. But I do want to just show you guys that it does have this first tropical wave here in the main development region. It doesn't form it over the Lesser Antilles. You can see the low pressure, but it doesn't actually form into a tropical storm until it gets north of the Dominican Republic, north of Haiti, where the European AI actually has this being a hurricane off the eastern seaboard, which I don't know how I feel about about that. I do believe it's a real possibility, but it's too far out to lock that in or say anything specific about that. But we will keep an eye on that closely. And you could see at the very end of the model run, the second tropical wave also starts to appear up there as a low pressure of a 10-12. Just to go to the beginning of this, I want to see if it does anything with that wave in Central America. It doesn't look like it does. Yeah, no, I don't see anything in the Gulf of Mexico. Ooh, actually, look at that. Look at that. Last second, for the last few frames, we do see a low pressure get going here on September 2nd, September 3rd, just near Texas and Louisiana. All right, so this will be our final global model before we dive on into the ensemble models. Let's go ahead and pull this out. This is your CMC model run. Takes a system right on it into Texas. Very minor impacts. Really wouldn't be concerned about it. Main development region system. It does form into a tropical storm, possibly as early as September 1st, very late on August 31st, and moves right towards the Lesser Antilles Leeward Islands as a tropical storm on September 3rd here. This is where the model run ends, but obviously that would head into the Lesser Antilles. My bets would be moving into probably the Dominican Republic and then up and out to sea like Ernesto did earlier this month. Let's go ahead and look at the one in Central America, see what it does with that. So there's your broad low pressure. See if it does anything. I can't even keep track of this. I don't even see the one in Central America here. I guess that might be it on August 31st. Slams very close to the Yucatan Peninsula as a very weak tropical wave. So doesn't look like the CMC really has any activity outside of that main development wave out there, the first wave. And then the second wave, look at that. The second wave actually does get a low pressure here on September 2nd as well. So the CMC actually does try to form both of those into a tropical storm, with the first one obviously having the better chance, which I agree with the first one probably being our main system to keep an eye on, as opposed to what the GFS says with the second system being more of an interest. I'd be watching that first one closer, which could form into a tropical storm as early as August 31st. So definitely going to keep an eye on that. And any of these main development region waves could very easily move into the Gulf of Mexico. Same with the one in Central America, could move into the Gulf, and then the other one out here in the Lesser Antilles. So there's a lot of potential impacts out here for the United States, but it's all going to come down to this thing right here, this very large high pressure. Wherever that high pressure sits is going to be our steering current for the later half. We're already really in the later half of August into the beginning of September, which personally I feel like most of these waves in the main development region are going to be able to do something like this. So just really want to keep an eye on this portion of the United States. I'm not all that worried of in Mexico or Texas. Wouldn't be listening to the GFS model run with the hurricane in Mexico. That's a Fantasyland hurricane. Here's our European ensembles. Now, these I like a whole lot better because the deterministic runs, they just go all over the place. So I really like to look at the ensembles a lot more. This is European, so it should be, keyword should be, a lot more, less aggressive, a lot more passive with this upcoming pattern here. And it doesn't do anything with that wave in Central America. If it does, it would probably just be rain and maybe a tropical wave, but it doesn't form into anything. That's the main thing. You can see actually some broad area of interest here does appear up on the ensembles out there in the South Central Caribbean, but it doesn't make its way into the Gulf or anything like that. Actually, look at that. You could see the other tropical system, the one, what was it? It wasn't the CMC. I'm going to go the Icon model. The Icon model that had a tropical storm form on the coastline of Texas and Louisiana. The European ensembles actually pick up on that. Look at that. You can see a couple little members here that start to light up on August 31st into September 1st. So it's interesting how the European actually picks up on that. And then our first tropical wave, main development region wave, the European has a pretty strong signal on that trying to form as we go towards September 1st, September 2nd, as it nears the Lesser Antilles on the 3rd. We'll see if it does anything. Lots of uncertainty, of course, on exactly where it tracks. But look at that, a decent broad region of interest there on your European ensembles. Not anything too aggressive at the moment. We're here on September 5th. Go out a little bit more, and just a whole lot of model spread there. So yeah, that main development region one, that's going to be the one I watch closely. I personally still am sticking with that, having the best opportunity to form into a tropical storm. So, want to watch that one the closest for sure. And if we see impacts, I feel like it's going to be the Lesser Antilles. But a few of these models, you can see it. Look at some of these ensembles actually do take it near Florida as well. So we do want to keep an eye on that and just watch the system closely. And it doesn't look like it does much with that second wave, just a broad amount of ensemble members out here. Nothing nearly as notable as that first tropical wave. Here's your GFS ensembles, which I expect to be a whole lot more aggressive with probably every last tropical wave. So there's your, this is your system in the Northeast Gulf. Really nothing happens with that on the GFS whatsoever. And we'll just see if we get anything else lighting up here. I see a lot of different areas. My eyes are going everywhere. I see the Gulf of Mexico out here really lighting up, a random tropical wave up here, our first tropical wave lighting up here, our second tropical wave lighting up here, even a very small portion of our wave in Central America lighting up as well on August 31st. So a lot of different areas on the GFS ensembles, and really two solid areas here. This area, very, very confident on the GFS with at least a broad tropical wave there. And another area out here off the coastline of Texas, Louisiana on the 2nd of September. Go out a little bit further. Let's see what happens. That second wave starts to increase in activity. First wave really starts to explode, and then even another wave out here in the Southwest Gulf on September 4th. We'll see if anything manages to really explode here. I do see that first wave. Yep, look at that first wave. That does indeed explode. And then we get another, look at that, a lot of ensembles there in the Gulf of Mexico as well. So a lot of different things here on the GEFS ensembles. That first tropical wave, very confident on a tropical storm, possibly even a hurricane on this particular ensemble run. Maybe a tropical system in the Gulf of Mexico. That second main development region wave doesn't do too much on the GFS, at least on this particular ensemble run. So we'll just continue to monitor both of these waves. But that first one's going to be the one I watch the most for sure. Gulf of Mexico, the second main development region wave, and the one in Central America. So 4 or 5 different areas to watch, which is why I decided to make a video on all this stuff, because definitely a whole lot to talk about and go over here. So here's the CPC's outlook for the potential of tropical development out here for August 28th all the way to September 3rd, as well as September 4th through September 10th. I'm really watching the September 4th through 10th one closer because I feel like these probabilities are going to shift a lot more west and also increase in the chance of a tropical system. But because of that first tropical wave that's currently moving off of Africa, you can see the CPC's introduced around or just less than a 60% chance for a tropical storm to form just barely off to the east-northeast of the Lesser Antilles. So that's going to obviously be the best shot for a tropical storm, a named storm to form towards the end of August, very beginning of September. So watching both of those areas closely, but also just because they don't highlight it on the Gulf of Mexico or Central America doesn't mean it won't happen. So you do also want to still keep an eye on the Gulf, Central America, southeastern United States, because these systems change quite quickly. Just a tiny bit of a shift in the high pressure, and it could lead these systems closer to the Caribbean. So we want to keep an eye on this every single day and watch it very, very closely. So here's the current National Hurricane Center outlook. No shocker here. Still no outline from the NHC. The main area I'd be watching for a highlight is out here in the main development region. I don't think those waves are going to be notable enough for them to highlight out here in Central America as well as in the northeastern Gulf. Unless we can somehow get a more concentrated low pressure and more model agreement on something happening on the coastline of Texas, Louisiana, I don't see an AOI out here, but I'd be pretty surprised if we don't see at least a chance, whether it be 10% or 20% chance for development highlighted somewhere in the main development region over the next week, maybe up to a week and a half out here. So we'll definitely need to watch this region closely, and only time will tell on what these systems will do. Definitely a lot of uncertainty and a lot of things to keep an eye on for sure. Before we do close out, I want to take y'all over to Tropical Storm Hone. This is the first tropical storm in the Central Pacific in the last 5 years. tropical storm warnings are up out here for the main island of Hawaii. No direct impact will be felt to Hawaii. However, Hone is a lopsided system to the north-northeast, so you will be feeling flash flooding. Damaging winds will be a possibility, and even some very marginal storm surge. Probably nothing more than, I don't think they don't have a graphic out there, but probably not more than like a foot or two of storm surge in Hawaii. I don't think we'll see that much. So you won't have a direct landfall, but you're still going to feel quite a bit of impacts out there in Hawaii. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. I wanted to make it a little bit longer. It's probably going to end up being right around 18 minutes long. So if you did make it to the end, I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. We will be live tomorrow, August 25th, for the potential for severe weather in the North Central Plains. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay safe, watch severe weather in the tropics. Goodbye.